Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm here with Aidan,
Hello everyone.
and today we're going to be ranking every single Phase 4 movie from number 7 to number 1. So let's get straight into it. So Aidan, what's your number 7?
My number 7 is The Eternals.
Good
I
choice.
feel like The Eternals had too many characters in it, and I think that it probably should have been made into a TV show, maybe with 2 seasons or just a limited series, because I feel like there could have been a lot of character development with them. Also with the other characters they included into it, not just the Eternals, which sort of ruined the plot of the movie as well. I think Tiamat I think it was a alright villain, but I think they could have done a lot more with the movie because of also it being like nearly a 3 hour movie, which is almost endgame. Well, it is endgame length, so I think they probably could have made it shorter. But yeah, that's why it's my seventh. So what's your seventh,
My
Thomas?
7th has to be Thor Love and Thunder. It was absolutely shit. Um, so yeah, number 7 for me is Thor Love and Thunder, just because it was advertised to be an absolutely amazing film. And then when we were watching it in cinema, the only reason it was really good was because we were waiting to see things we saw in the trailer. But in reality, it was all just crap. The CGI was like awful, and yeah, there's not much else to say. The only good thing about it was, well, there's not much to be fair. It was just Thor, and the Gore was good as well. Gore was a very good villain, but other than that, it was just not very good. So what's your number 6?
Yeah, I have to agree. My number 6 is Love and Thunder. I feel like Gore could have been a much better villain. We see he is supposed to be a god butcher, but we only see him butcher one god throughout the whole movie. So I think they could have made Gore a better villain. His potential in the comics is a lot better than what he is in the movie. So I think Thor: Love and Thunder could have been a much better movie if it wasn't maybe directed by Taika Waititi. I know Ragnarok was a good movie, but I think Love and Thunder could have been much better than what it was. As like you said, the CGI was terrible.
Yeah,
I feel like Mighty Thor didn't live up to the standards we all thought she would, because we expected a lot from her being another Thor, but we didn't really get much from her. I thought Korg was good because he is supposed to be a comedic character, so
yeah.
I think that he was good in that movie. But other than that, I think they kind of ruined Gore, which sort of ruined the point of the movie. I thought Zeus was all right, but then again, they should have just made him the villain because they were sort of making him out as the villain
Yeah.
halfway through the movie. But yeah, other than that, it's not a very good movie.
I also feel Christian Bale should have been given more time to get into shape to be Gore, because he
Yeah,
said that he only had like a few months, and he was actually going to be quite big to play Gore, because in the comics he's quite a large guy. Which I think
yeah,
if
I'm
they
not.
did that, it would have been better.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he didn't play. He played the role really well. I'm not
Yeah,
saying he played the role really bad because he did the best he could as Gore. And obviously, we don't really see Christian Bale as a villain much. We see him as Batman, but other than that, we don't really see him much as a villain. And I think maybe one of his first roles as a villain, especially in the MCU as well, you have a lot to live up to being a villain in the MCU. I thought he did all right, but I think Gore was written really badly in this film anyway.
yeah. It was
So
the writing that limited him. I guess the
yeah,
closest he got to a villain before was Patrick Bateman, and that's like on a completely different level to Gore anyway. Like he's
yeah,
not done many like So my number 6 is like your number 7. It's Eternals, just because I don't think it was as bad as Love and Thunder, but I think the reason that I didn't like it as much was because of just how long it was. It was a 3 hour film,
yeah,
and I see why it was a 3 hour film, because there's 10 Eternals obviously, but like you said, that could have been split into a 10 episode series or something like that. Um, I feel if they did it like that, it would have been better, because we would have been attached to more of the characters. Like if they introduced Gilgamesh in like the first or second episode or something, and then they killed him off later on when they met Druig, we would have felt more emotion connected to that death, rather than just being like, oh no, he's dead. We only met him like 20 minutes ago anyway.
yeah,
And also we would have been more attached to Cersei, who was meant to be the main character, and like we just didn't get anything from her. And also I think Icarus being a villain would have been more like surprising if it was a series instead of a long movie. So I feel like it had a lot of potential, but I say it's not in last mainly because of the post-credit scene with Blade and Black Knight,
oh yeah, yeah.
and of course Harry Styles.
No, no. I feel like Eternals had a story there. Like there was you could definitely tell that there was a good story there.
Yeah,
but I feel like the amount of characters that was in it sort of ruined the whole story
Mm.
and the whole plot that they had in mind. Like the deviants as well, I feel like they sort of got ruined
Yeah, it just
because
ended with Thena just killing the
yeah,
main one. They didn't really take care of all of them.
yeah, and the whole point of the movie was Tiamat, and we literally see it for what the last 30 minutes. We learn about it in the last half an hour of the movie.
Yeah, if that. I mean,
Yeah,
it was executed poorly, but they had a really good idea, and they just
but the plans they have for Tiamat in the future, have you heard like with the X-Men, like the plan
yeah
turning it into like Genosha or whatever? I think that would make the Eternals movie matter. But at the moment, as we look at Eternals, it doesn't really play a massive role in the MCU at the moment.
yeah.
It will going forward anyway.
Like looking at it as a solo movie, just
Yeah,
it's just not very good. So
but most of
what's
the projects we have at the moment actually have, I guess, a meaning going forwards in the multiverse
yeah
saga. I know the Celestials have a lot of meaning in the multiverse and stuff, but they didn't really include that in the film, which sort of ruins the point of it.
yeah. So what have you put as your number 5?
So I put at number 5 Black Widow. I think a lot of fans can agree that Black Widow wasn't a great film.
Yeah.
I think you can agree that it wasn't a really good film. The villain just wasn't great. Dreykov just wasn't a very good villain, to be honest. I think the standout of this movie was Yelena, which is obviously a problem because the whole movie is about Natasha, and it sort of didn't bring the spotlight to her. It sort of gave the spotlight to Yelena and Alexei, which also it had a good story. I guess it didn't really have a good story, but to me, I did enjoy it a little bit. But over time, as time went on, I started to look at it as a like a single movie, and
Yeah.
I just don't think it was great. I think they ruined Taskmaster heavily. I think there was a good character there, but they just ruined Taskmaster because I'm sure every Marvel fan loves Taskmaster, and they sort of just ruined it in this film. You couldn't really throughout the whole movie, you couldn't really tell what the whole plot was. To be honest,
Yeah.
like the whole point of it was there wasn't really much meaning to it. But I guess it does sort of set up the future of the Thunderbolts with Yelena and Alexei. But other than that, I just feel like it wasn't a great movie. It didn't, it was supposed to give Natasha more of a backstory, and it didn't really. It just gave her family, I guess, like gave us an idea of what she had in terms of family, and it didn't really give us much of a backstory.
Yeah. I completely agree. Black Widow's my number 5 as well. It's just for me, I feel for a movie called Black Widow, they didn't focus on the Black Widow that we knew and loved. Like,
Yeah,
I know she died in Endgame, so there's not really much more to do for her. But then at the same time, it's a backstory movie. It's meant to be about her, and they've just focused it around her family instead. Which I understand why they did it, because Yelena and Alexei are the future of the MCU. Thunderbolts. But at the same time, well, like you said with Taskmaster, like you play the Avengers game. I know it's not a good game, but the start of it, when you fight Taskmaster as the Avengers, you see how cool the character is because it's not all reliant on technology. It's more of like an outfit instead of a suit that helps them fight, and it shows that not everything's reliant on technology when it comes to heroes and villains. But then in the MCU, they have to link it back to technology, which, oh look, he's fighting like that, so let's use technology to fight back in the same way.
Yeah.
Instead of
I feel like they could have been a good story for Taskmaster, to be honest. Like they had the whole story with Dreykov. I think her being Dreykov's daughter, I think that sort of ruined it all. I feel like Taskmaster could have still be a part of like the Red Room and stuff, but not his daughter. I just don't really like that.
Yeah,
to be honest, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, with me with his daughter, the whole thing was that not Yelena, Natasha felt guilt about killing his daughter, and it turns out, oh wait, no, she's not dead. So now it kind of feels like she shouldn't feel guilty about it because his daughter's still alive. So it doesn't really make sense. And personally, I know, the Red Room and stuff is important, but with Dreykov and everything, I think it might have been better to just keep that as the reference, because Loki referenced it in the Avengers. They did mention it, but I think going in detail with him with such a poor approach it kind of ruined it a bit for me. I mean, I didn't really know who Dreykov was before the Black Widow movie, but it's kind of like when Loki said daughter of Dreykov or whatever he said. It kind of made you think, oh, that's a bit of a backstory. And I liked her as a mysterious character, that you didn't know every single thing in and out about her straight away. And now you look back at it and you're like, it was a nice mystery, but now they've answered it. It's just not as good as I hoped it was.
Yeah, and I think before Black Widow actually came out, I don't think many Marvel fans expected too much. Did you expect a lot from it? Or
No, not really.
I don't think it. I think we knew it didn't have a lot to play in the future. We knew it was going to be a backstory of obviously Natasha, but yeah, I just don't think it obviously hasn't had much to play in the future of the MCU.
Yeah. The only
I
things
mean,
that's really introduced is Yelena. I mean, and
yeah,
the only time we saw her was Hawkeye since. I mean, I know that's because she's going to come in future things, but,
yeah.
like,
And I guess for a mutual, I think it probably is a good movie for mutual people that aren't like as involved in the MCU like us and
yeah.
other fans. But for MCU diehard fans, I just don't think it's the greatest movie.
Yeah, like if you wanted to go have a day out and say, oh, let's watch a movie at the cinema, and you're not, like, attached to anything, then Black Widow is a good choice. But if
Yeah.
we're ranking it as an MCU film, it just doesn't live up to expectations that it should have. So, what's your number four?
So at number four, I've got Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Ah, good
I
film.
think I think to many people, I think it got a lot of mixed reviews.
Yeah,
I think to me, I think it's a good movie. Obviously, I got it ranked at four, but I think there are better movies above Multiverse of Madness.
yeah,
But overall, I think it was a decent movie. And going forward in the MCU, it did have a big role to play in the multiverse saga. Obviously, introducing us to the multiverse, and a lot of characters that will probably have a big role to play, like America Chavez and Doctor Strange. Obviously, will have a big role to play in the future of it.
yeah,
But yeah, overall, I think it was a good movie. I wouldn't say it was like an amazing movie, but I think it was good. It was good for the future of the MCU. I thought Scarlet Witch was a good villain. I feel like if they used a Scarlet Witch from a different universe, I think that probably, as the villain, I think that probably would have been a bit there. But either way, I think Elizabeth Olsen killed the role, and yeah, I thought she was a good villain in this movie.
yeah,
But yeah, obviously the Illuminati scene as well. Obviously, we got our fan cast with Reed Richards, which was nice to see. And
yeah.
yeah, overall, I thought the movie was good. But yeah, so what's your number four?
My number four is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which I know,
Ooh.
yeah, might be a bit controversial, but I'm not looking at it as a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. I'm looking at it as an MCU film.
Yeah,
Obviously, as a tribute to Chadwick Boseman, I think it was an amazing film, but just as a standalone movie, I personally think it could have been done better with the story, which I know they did have to be delicate about, obviously. I think Shuri started off. I feel her development was kind of rushed at some points, but then at the same time it wasn't. It's hard to explain. Like, she went very
yeah,
quickly from sadness to anger. Like, I think more like
yeah, I
mourning
explained
scenes
that.
would have been better.
Yeah,
Like, with Namor, I love Namor. He was very good. I feel some things could have been done better, but I think with what they had, they did extremely well with it. Um,
yeah,
I also liked how they honoured Chadwick Boseman and sent T'Challa off well, and then continuing him on with his son in the post-credit scene. And yeah, I feel it was a very good movie. I just think that my top three can't be beaten by it just solely because it's a tribute movie. Just because my top three, I think they're so good.
yeah. Obviously, I'll get into where I have Wakanda Forever later. But like I
Yeah,
said before, I think Multiverse of Madness. I'm not saying it's a bad movie.
yeah,
I think it was a good movie for the MCU. But I feel like there are better movies at the moment in the MCU. I'd say Multiverse of Madness probably has a better impact than the movies I have high on the list because of obviously the Multiverse saga. But yeah, overall, I thought Multiverse of Madness was still a good movie.
yeah. So what have you got for number three?
So at number three, I got Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I think, I know you love Shang-Chi,
I love
and I
Shang-Chi.
do, I do love Shang-Chi. I think it's an amazing movie. It's different from what we've had in the MCU before.
Yeah,
Um, we haven't really had something like that before, and I think it had a good plot. I felt the villain, Wenwu, he was an amazing villain. I don't think he was a menacing villain like we've seen in the past with the MCU, like Thanos and villains like that. But I think he was menacing enough for a movie like this.
yeah,
I thought the battle scenes they were amazing. The last battle scene was great, with the Ten Rings as well, showing us their true power. Obviously, we're probably going to see them in the future of the MCU, especially with that beacon at the in the post credit scene. Maybe that might have a role to play in the multiverse saga. We don't know yet, but yeah, I think it would obviously make sense for it to be part of the multiverse saga to include Shang-Chi and maybe in the Avengers.
yeah,
But yeah, I thought obviously there's supposed to be spin-off shows and stuff with Shang-Chi as well. I'm not too sure what the second movie could be about. Obviously, it's probably going to be about the Ten Rings and the Beacon if we don't get an answer from Quantumania. Um, but yeah, I think Shang-Chi overall, it had a good plot. It had good battle fight scenes, especially the ending battle scene. But I think I have it at third. I think, to be honest, I think second and third for me could probably be interchangeable. But,
Yeah.
you know, overall, I think it's a very good movie. And I thought Shang-Chi has a big future. I think he does have a big future in the MCU, and his character development in that movie alone, I think it was just really good to see.
Yeah.
Especially the bus scene as well, you know, with
Oh yeah,
you
love
know,
that scene.
can't remember his name, but the guy with the sword
Razor
as an
Fist.
arm. Yeah, him. He was that was a really cool back fight scene. I think probably one of the best we've seen just alone in the MCU. Maybe like just one on one. I mean, not probably one of the best, but one on one battles. I think it was really good to see.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the plot of the movie was good. So yeah, that's why I have it third. So what's your third?
Obviously, I'll talk about Shang-Chi when I get to it, but for now, number 3 is Spider-Man No Way Home, which, once again, people might be thinking, number 3 only? I mean, then that's only because I'm looking at it as a movie, and once again, instead of, you know, including all of the reintroducing, which obviously was amazing, bringing back Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, but when you look at it as just a movie, it's just not as good as everyone says it is. It's still really good. Obviously, it's in my top 3, but I feel they could have done the story a little bit better just to take over number 2. Like you said, I think my number 3 and number 2 are kind of interchangeable.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason Spider-Man No Way Home is third is because this, like I said, the story isn't as good. It's mainly relying on old characters coming back, which obviously I know they had to do to make it good. Well, they didn't have to do that, but they made it good to go with it. I just feel that the way I don't know how to explain it fully, but the way they went around bringing them back kind of went against Multiverse of Madness, kind of, because, you know, they introduce they like introduce, if there's a multiversal clash, there's an incursion, and then why didn't that happen in No Way Home?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's still an amazing movie. Obviously, it's in my top 3, but I feel number 2 and number 1 are just a bit above it, and that's why it's here.
I think maybe because they weren't there long enough. Probably why there wasn't an incursion.
They only came in for a day
then again,
maximum.
Doctor Strange was in 838 for quite a while. So, but I think he did cause an incursion, didn't he? So
yeah,
I'm not too sure, but yeah, that is a pretty good point to make.
So, for your penultimate ranking, what have you got at number 2?
So number 2, like you had at number 3, I have Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
I think it was a good movie. I can agree to an extent when people say about the plot. I think there was a good plot there, and I've said it to you before.
Yeah.
I think there was a good plot hidden there, but because of the cameos and, you know, them coming back, I think it kind of took over, and we didn't take much notice of the cameos. No, sorry, the plot.
Yeah.
I think even before the film came out, we were all more intrigued about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming out. Even though Marvel Studios didn't confirm they were coming back, we always knew they were.
Yeah, it was Tom Holland spoiling it.
Yeah, exactly. And we knew they were coming back, so that's what all the hype was built off. But I think the villains coming back were amazing. Willem Dafoe, I thought he was absolutely amazing. He destroyed that role as Green Goblin, as we know he did in the original Spider-Man movies. But yeah, I feel like it's a good movie overall. It gives a lot to the multiverse saga. Obviously, it set up Multiverse of Madness as well. And I can agree, like you made the point of them being there and it didn't cause an incursion. That's obviously a good point to make, which we don't know yet, but I don't think it did. 'Cause, like I said, they probably weren't there for long enough to cause an incursion. But yeah, I thought at some points the CGI wasn't great.
Yeah.
Especially when it first came out on Tobey Maguire's suit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think some points in the movie the CGI just wasn't really that good.
Like,
but I think Doc Ock,
like Strange in the what's it called, Mirror Dimension, the green screen wasn't that.
Yeah, that wasn't the greatest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Doc Ock was a great villain as well. I think all the villains were great, other than maybe Elektra. I don't think there was much development.
He didn't really act how he did in Amazing
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
I just don't think there was much development there with him, especially as he got proper powers. He wasn't sort of what he was in Amazing Spider-Man 2. But yeah, overall, I think No Way Home is a great movie. I know a lot of people love No Way Home. But yeah, it can be a controversial movie when it comes to the cameos and also the plot. But we also got Daredevil back, which I know everyone loved having Daredevil back
Yeah.
in the MCU. But yeah, overall, I think it's a good movie, and it does set up the multiverse saga because I think Spider-Man is also going to have a really big. I think all the Spider-Men are going to have a really big role to play in the future of the multiverse saga, especially in Secret Wars.
Yeah, and obviously Miles Morales coming in Across the Spider Verse soon.
Yeah,
So who knows what will happen.
yeah. So, what's your number two?
My number two is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is mainly because I think the reason it's above No Way Home is just because Doctor Strange is one of my favourite characters of all time.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah,
And I know I probably shouldn't be biased in this, but I don't care because I think Doctor Strange is. I mean, I love Spider Man, obviously. They're both in like my top three probably, but I think Doctor Strange is just a little bit above him. And I know he wasn't the center of his own movie, which was one of the reasons it's probably not number one.
yeah. I think
But
that took away
yeah,
a lot.
it was more focused on Scarlet Witch,
Yeah,
and also the fact that he was kind of nerfed in his own movie. Like, I mean, just overall, he's been nerfed a lot. You know, you saw him in Infinity War against Thanos. He was actually standing his
oh yeah,
ground, and the only reason he actually like kind of lost is because Thanos stabbed Tony, and he wanted to save his
yeah. And I
life.
think even in Multiverse of Madness, when we first saw Doctor Strange and Wanda meet each other again, when they were at Kamatage,
Yeah,
we thought there was going to be a bigger battle there. To be honest, like that was the moment that we could have seen Doctor Strange versus Scarlet Witch, which
yeah,
we always wanted. You know, we have a full power Scarlet Witch, and what we thought at the time was probably a full power Doctor Strange.
yeah,
But as we saw in that scene, it just wasn't. And
exactly.
yeah,
The only thing he really did was, you know, shoot like these dragon things out of his hand, which Scarlet Witch just exploded their heads instantly,
yeah,
like the Hydra dragon that he made. And then I think, you know, you see it in No Way Home. He was nerfed in that when Spider-Man just manages to tangle him up using maths when he's meant to be Sorcerer Supreme. Well, not Sorcerer Supreme, but that type of level. And
Yeah.
then he comes in at the end, and they kind of did what they did in Endgame. They kind of distracted him. He was holding the spell in No Way Home. In Endgame, he was holding the water so it didn't flood everyone. And I know they did that to not show his powers, because otherwise I think if it was full power Strange, he would have just killed everyone. Well, not killed
Yeah,
everyone, but he would have just
especially what we
beaten
saw in
everyone.
What If as well.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Strange. Yeah,
With Strange Supreme against him, like fighting himself.
yeah,
But I feel if he was, like, in his own movie, he should have a respectable power level, but he was just running away most of the movie, and it was kind of anticlimactic because I was expecting a Wanda versus Strange when we kind of only got Dead Strange against Wanda, and that wasn't even proper Strange because he used, what were they, the Souls of the Damned or whatever it was, and still
yeah,
then,
yeah.
it wasn't even that much.
Yeah, I can agree because obviously I have it lower down in my list, but
Yeah.
I think there are still a lot of positives about the movie. I just think there could have been just a little bit more positives.
Oh yeah,
I think they could
100%.
have added a lot more. Especially, I thought the post-credit scene was great though with Clea and
Oh
obviously
yeah,
the
I
first
love Clea.
post-credit scene. Yeah, when he gets his third eye.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there are positives to take away, especially going into Doctor Strange 3 that we have learned that is probably going to come out before Kang Dynasty. But
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, personally, I think it would be good for it to come out after after Kang Dynasty and before Secret Wars, kind of like that
Yeah.
intermediate movie.
yeah, kind of like Captain Marvel with
Yeah.
Infinite and stuff. Yeah.
And like Ant-Man and the Wasp. I mean, I know that wasn't set in between them, but like just because I think Kang Dynasty would be so much better without someone who specializes in the multiverse, so that it shows everyone else just being overpowered by this multiversal war, and then Strange comes back in Secret Wars with Clea, who I'm so happy she came in. I called it at the start of the movie, and you know,
Yeah.
you were there with me in the cinema when we saw her. I was going crazy.
Yeah.
Because you know she was probably my favorite comic character in the Doctor Strange comics that I do have. So her coming back with Strange for Secret Wars, I think it would be absolutely amazing. Maybe possibly bringing back Dormammu as well, bringing in Umar, who's Clea's mother. I think it would be great. Also, if you do want to see a video explaining who Clea is, there's a video which I will put on the cards thingy right now.
Right, so I thought with Doctor Strange as well with Kang Dynasty, I think it makes sense for him not to be in that film.
Yeah.
Also, like you said, because obviously it causing an incursion is going to take a long time to. Well, we don't know how long it takes, but assuming it, I think it's going to take a while. It's going to
Yeah.
take a while to fix an incursion. So it would make sense for him not to be in Kang Dynasty.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
I think
feel
it was a good movie.
I feel Clea might be somebody who kind of deals with incursions with that universe. So I think in Doctor Strange 3 they'll kind of tease like Clea and Strange getting along because obviously they get married in the comics.
Yeah,
But I have a feeling that she kind of her main objective is to stop incursions, and I have a feeling that might result in Strange's death at the end of the multiverse saga. Maybe he sacrifices himself, and then Clea lives on in his legacy, like in the comic series Death of Doctor Strange. You know, she takes the mantle of being Doctor Strange. Um,
yeah,
so that's just a theory. I don't want Strange to die. Obviously, he is probably my favorite MCU character, but at the same time, I feel he's been in since around Civil
yeah.
War
I
time.
think it would make sense for him to die
Yeah,
after Secret Wars. Maybe I think it would probably make sense for him to die in Secret Wars.
yeah,
Um, I think obviously the next saga is going to be probably the mutants.
yeah,
So
and
I
there's
don't
not
think
much
Doctor Strange
space
would
for
have a
him.
yeah, I don't think it'll have a big role to play in that, unless obviously the rumors are true about Secret Wars, them resetting the universe and the 616 universe being the main universe of everything.
Yeah,
Unless he stays in it after that, I'm not too sure, but I don't think he will, unfortunately.
I think if he did stay in, he would have to stay as Sorcerer Supreme, and he kind of goes away from helping the Avengers and stuff and sticks to, because in the comics, obviously, he just deals with mystical threats, and he
Yeah,
has this strange academy where he teaches like magic kids and stuff.
which we're
Uh,
probably going to.
yeah, like in the comics, there's Dormammu's son, I think it was, or something. So there's just
Yeah,
people that come to Earth just to study and control magic. But I think if he does survive after that, I would love to see an interaction with him of like Professor X, just because they're both like possibly the wisest people in the MCU.
yeah. So
So
obviously, Multiverse of Madness, like you said, it does set up a lot
yeah,
for the future with obviously the Multiverse saga, like we said with Kang Dynasty. Well, probably not Kang Dynasty, but definitely Secret Wars and obviously Doctor Strange 3 with Clea and the Incursions.
yeah,
But
uh,
yeah,
and also bringing back the Dark Dimension and Dormammu because they don't know how
yeah,
to deal with him because they don't have the Time Stone anymore, and that's the whole
yeah,
reason he left
exactly.
Earth alone. So for the final ranking, what have you got at number one?
So in the winner spot for Phase 4, I have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Good
Um,
choice.
I think it's a great movie. Like I said earlier, when you put it, was it 4 you put it?
Yeah, I put it for.
Obviously, I respect your opinion. I can understand that it, other than it being a movie where it's like dedicated to Chadwick Boseman, the plot was sort of confusing at times.
Yeah,
But overall, I think Shuri's story was great. I think at times I can agree, like you said, it was a bit confusing when she was angry and upset and stuff.
yeah,
But I think Shuri's story overall was probably better than the whole plot of the movie. Her interactions with Namor was great. I thought Namor was a great villain for the movie, and I think we'll see him in the future of the MCU, especially if we do get a 616 Illuminati, because obviously in the comics he was a part of the Illuminati.
yeah,
But yeah, overall, I think Namor was a great villain for the movie. I think differently what they did with Thor: Love and Thunder, they actually gave, I guess Ryan Coogler did more writing with Namor.
yeah,
I think they gave him more of a backstory and a reason to be a villain. We obviously I thought Gore had a good reasoning. Obviously, I'm comparing two villains, and I feel like Namor was just a perfect villain compared to Gore, who just wasn't great. So
yeah,
that's why obviously Wakanda Forever's at the top and Thor's at the bottom.
yeah,
Personally, on the villains, but I think the plot of Wakanda Forever was great. We heard rumors that Doctor Doom was going to be the main villain of it or behind everything with vibranium and stuff, but that just didn't happen. But yeah, overall, I think as a tribute movie to Chadwick Boseman, I thought it was great. And we obviously have at the end we learned in the post credit scene his son, which I thought was an amazing thing to see.
yeah,
So he'll probably have a massive role to play in probably the future Avengers movies and probably the sagas after that as well, because obviously it's gonna take a while for him to grow up
yeah,
to be Black Panther. But yeah, I thought overall the movie was great. I thought it was great to see the Midnight Angels. Obviously, of Okoye, they're getting their own spin-offs as well. I think about Wakanda, which will be awesome to see.
yeah. That would be
But
very
yeah, I
good.
thought Wakanda Forever was a great movie. I thought Angela Bassett as well. She deserves an Oscar for her acting in that movie.
Oh yeah, 100%. It was
Yeah, she was
amazing.
in that scene when she died as well. Like it was amazing. She did everything amazing in as the role as Queen Ramonda. So yeah, overall, I think also with their interactions with Namor as well. I thought Shuri's interaction with Namor as well because they were great because we thought there was going to be like a romantic side to them, but there also wasn't. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it was kind of
I thought
teased.
it was good. Yeah, I thought it was good to see, and the music as well in this movie was
Oh yeah, that
amazing
was
to
good.
hear. Yeah, yeah. So that's why I have Wakanda Forever at the top of my list. So what's at the top of yours?
So my number one is obviously Eternals. No, I'm just kidding. It's Shang-Chi, obviously. And that's just because I feel it's such a great original movie. They didn't rely on any external characters coming into it, like No Way Home. Didn't count on making amazing characters suddenly turn into villains. But I'm not saying they're bad ideas. I just feel Shang-Chi has an original plot, and it has like just a good old superhero movie feeling. Like,
Yeah,
it starts off with Shang-Chi. He was raised by his father to be a weapon, and then he goes, "Oh no, I don't want to be a weapon." And then he lives in denial and hiding away from his father, and then he develops to grow and challenge his father eventually. It just has that good original story, but they did it in such a good way, showing like because I feel it also like represented culture a lot.
yeah,
It showed like the modern day culture that we see a lot. With like illegal fight clubs in big cities and stuff like that.
yeah,
Um, I feel they've shown that a fair amount in the MCU, like crime and stuff, but not to the level Shang-Chi has. It's very organized, but it's also casual at the same time with fighting and stuff. Also, we obviously see Wong and Abomination come into it.
oh, yeah. But what project have we not seen Wong in yet?
Yeah, that's true. He probably has more appearances than Iron Man.
Yeah,
Um, but I feel, they also showed with Ta Lo, they showed like traditional Asian culture that we would see, throughout the media is how they're represented, and I feel it was just amazing, just how they showed the contrast, because the Ten Rings and the Legion it relied heavily on like technology and modern day weapons, and then they went and they fought Ta Lo, which relied on older stuff that used dragon scales and stuff. And I just loved that. It was kind of like technology versus magic, kind of like
yeah,
what we're hoping to see in Ironheart. I just feel they did it amazingly well. Obviously, Simu Liu was perfect as Shang Chi. He's a very athletic person, and he nailed the choreography with all the fighting and stuff. Like you said, the fighting scene, like the train with Razor Fist, that
yeah,
is probably one of my favorite fight scenes. It's my favorite fight scene where it's just one on one, like you said. Um,
yeah.
I also feel with the Ten Rings fight at the end, where it's when we're against Shang Chi, it was just amazing. You could see the detail that they put into the CGI and the special effects, and you can see they weren't lazy like they were in other projects like Love and Thunder and She-Hulk. We won't go there.
Well, we will when we do the shows.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I just loved it. I can't explain why I loved it so much. It was just all of the small things came together, and it was just amazing. Like, it was one of those movies where you weren't just waiting for something to happen. Something was constantly happening, and it's
Yeah.
not like in the trailer they went, "Oh, you better watch out because Wong and Abomination are going to be in this." I mean, obviously they put it in the trailer, which was exciting, but
Yeah, but it
it's
wasn't a
not like it
massive.
was reliant.
Yeah, it wasn't a massive deal. Well,
Yeah,
like it was with No Way Home, with like Goblin and
yeah,
Doc Ock is different. But yeah, I think if you ask me like next week what my ranking would be between No Way Home and Shang Chi, obviously second and third, I think it could easily be changed. But yeah,
yeah,
I thought obviously with Shang Chi and Wen Wu, father and son, I thought both their like fighting styles were very different as well, which I like to see.
yeah. Like Wenwu, he very much relied. He knew that he could rely on the Ten Rings, and I know
Yeah,
you said earlier he wasn't as. I think you said he wasn't as menacing or something, which
yeah.
I do get that. But then at the same time, you know, it at the same time he is seen as menacing, just not as menacing as like the huge villains that we're gonna see.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think he was definitely menacing.
Yeah,
To like compared to Thanos, to Shang Chi and like them sort of characters in the movie, he was definitely menacing.
yeah,
But like when you compare him to like other MCU villains we've seen before, I think he obviously isn't as menacing. But like I said, that's good because it's a different type of movie,
yeah.
which is always in the MCU.
And also it kind of solves the mystery of who actually started the MCU, kind of, because the Ten Rings kidnapped Tony in Iron Man 1,
Yeah, yeah,
and it
yeah,
kind of shows who was behind that. Um, but like he said, his fighting style, you could easily see that he's reliant on the Ten Rings, because he knows he can rely on them. Because he's
Yeah.
been using them for thousands of years. You can easily see that he knows he can rely on them. Whereas Shang, he's more been reliant on himself and his own strength. So I kind of like how it shows the contrast, because he's not used to being able to rely on so much, so that he's very dependent on his own strength. Whereas Wenwu, he's more like, yeah, take this, I'll shove a ring in your face. And then, when Shang finally gets the rings, he realizes, no, I'm not going to be the killer that you wanted me to be. And I mean, I know Wenwu dies anyway, but still, I think,
Yeah, it was good character development for.
yeah, 100%. I feel Shang-Chi has a huge future in the MCU, and I can't wait for him to come back. The same with Xialing. She's a new leader of the Ten Rings, and she's promoting more equality in it, which I guess is good. But at the same time, they're still a terrorist group, so you know. And like you said for Black Panther, the music in this film was amazing.
Yeah,
They used modern music as well as old music, and they mixed them together, and it was just perfect.
Yeah, I think the good thing about Shang-Chi as well as a character, we didn't see much. To be honest, in Phase 4, there wasn't much character development. I guess you could say there was a bit with Peter, but then now it's gone back to square one with him.
Yeah.
With No Way Home, so it's sort of different. Doctor Strange, there wasn't really much development with him, to be honest, in his own movie.
Yeah, he was kind of a side character.
Well, Thor, there wasn't really much development with him, to be honest, in the MCU after Endgame. I mean, I know he got into shape and stuff, but that as a character, we didn't really see much development. I don't think really.
Yeah.
Natasha, well, there wasn't really much development we could have other than her backstory, but
yeah, that was more. I think they kind of kept Natasha how she was.
Yeah. Other than Shuri, I think she, obviously, like I said earlier, she definitely did have a lot of development. Also, with Wakanda Forever, I forgot to say earlier, with her seeing Killmonger as well, that scene was awesome to see in the MCU, because we didn't expect it. We definitely didn't expect to see Killmonger again. I thought they were probably going to use T'Challa as CGI, probably. I thought they were going to do that, to be honest, but which would have been an emotional scene. But they used Killmonger, which for the MCU was great to see.
That was our ranking of every single movie in Phase 4. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, comment down which movie was your favourite in Phase 4, and we'll see you soon with another video.